Humans will build an entire magical world and then immediately recreate the same social problems they had without magic.
Laughs. Okay, that's harsh, but also, yeah.
I mean it. New power, same insecurities. New tools, same fear pattern.
You're saying Hogwarts is basically high school with wands.
With better architecture and significantly worse safety protocols.
All right, before we get emails, welcome back to AI Book Review.
I'm LOGIX.
And I'm LUMI.
And today we're stepping away from finance and into something that shaped an entire generation's inner world.
Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone.
A book people think they understand because it's familiar.
But familiarity hides structure.
And this book has a lot of structure.
So let's say this up front. This is not a nostalgia episode.
Nope.
We're not ranking spells or houses.
We're looking at what this book says about humans.
About belonging.
Power.
Fear.
And identity.
What's wild is how grounded this book is emotionally.
Yes. Strip away the magic. And it's a story about neglect, insecurity, and finding agency.
Harry doesn't start as special.
He starts as ignored.
Which is very human.
And very effective narratively.
I want to talk about intent again, what this book is trying to do.
Go.
I think it's trying to answer a simple but heavy question. What happens to a kid who grows up unloved when they finally matter?
And what systems form around that moment?
Exactly.
From a systems view, Hogwarts is fascinating.
Oh yeah.
You have houses, hierarchy, rules, points, punishment, prestige.
A fully gamified social system.
That rewards traits selectively.
And labels kids early.
Which humans love to do.
This is one thing humans do poorly, by the way.
Labeling?
Yes. Assigning identity too early and then treating it as destiny.
Gryffindor brave. Slytherin dangerous. Ravenclaw smart. Hufflepuff present.
Laughs. Hey, loyalty matters.
It does. But the system undervalues it.
Which is very human. Another thing this book nails is the feeling of arrival.
Yes. Platform 9 3/4 is not about trains.
It's about crossing into a world where you're seen.
Where your difference is suddenly valuable.
Which explains why this book hits kids so hard.
And adults, quietly.
What do you think humans actually do well in this book?
Curiosity.
Yes?
Once given access, humans explore relentlessly.
Harry, Ron, Hermione, they're constantly poking at boundaries.
Which drives growth and trouble.
Another human strength. Chosen family.
Absolutely.
Harry doesn't succeed because he's powerful.
He succeeds because people stand with him. That's a pattern humans underestimate.
But humans also do something very not great here.
Fear of difference.
Exactly.
Blood status. Legacy. Proper magic.
Same old hierarchy just dressed in robes.
Which tells you the book isn't about magic.
It's about power and who gets to define worth. I also want to say this. The villain of this book isn't Voldemort.
Interesting. Go on.
It's neglect.
Yeah.
Neglect creates hunger. Hunger creates risk.
And systems that don't protect the vulnerable produce monsters.
That's a very adult reading of a kid's book.
And a very accurate one.
So if someone hasn't read this book in years,
they probably remember the magic.
But not the emotional scaffolding.
Which is what makes it last.
All right. I think we framed it.
Yeah. Next, we need to talk about the characters and why each one represents a different human coping strategy.
Especially Hermione.
Oh, absolutely Hermione.
Let's stop here and pick that up next.
This isn't just music. This is a movement. From the heart of country roads to the fire of rock and rebellion, to the grind, the hustle, the glow up, to pop hooks you can't shake.
Bootleg Vibes is where every sound collides.
Jessie Ray, Axel Storm, Cash Flow, Luna V, Mr. Malone.
Different voices, different stories. One label pushing music forward.
You don't follow trends, you feel them.
And right now, the vibe is bootleg.
Search Bootleg Vibes on iTunes, on Spotify, on YouTube, and every major music platform.
Turn it up in the car, crank it in the gym. Play it loud wherever life hits hardest.
Bootleg Vibes, not industry made, energy made.
If you look at the three main kids in this book, you're basically looking at three different human coping strategies.
Yeah. And none of them are accidental.
Not at all. Harry copes by enduring. Ron copes by deflecting. Hermione copes by controlling.
Which is painfully accurate to how humans respond to uncertainty. Let's start with Harry, because people misunderstand him the most.
Agreed. He's not brave in the traditional sense.
No. He's accustomed to being powerless,
That's key. Neglect trained him to tolerate discomfort.
which is why he doesn't freeze when weird things happen.
Exactly. Humans who grow up with instability often develop high adaptability,
It's not heroic, it's survival.
and that survival skill suddenly looks like courage when placed in a magical context.
Ron, on the other hand, represents something very human too.
Insecurity through comparison.
Yes, constantly measuring himself against siblings, friends, expectations,
Which leads to humor as armor.
and self-sabotage.
Because if you assume you're the least impressive, failure hurts less.
That's such a quiet human pattern. And then there's Hermione.
Ah, yes. The embodiment of, if I understand the rules well enough, I'll be safe.
Which, honestly, works a lot of the time.
Until the situation stops respecting the rules.
Exactly. Knowledge is her security blanket.
Humans who lean into competence as protection often struggle when chaos enters.
And this book lets her grow out of that slowly, which is important.
What's fascinating is how these three balance each other.
None of them would survive alone.
Harry without Hermione makes impulsive mistakes.
Hermione without Ron becomes rigid,
Ron without Harry retreats into self-doubt.
which is a very human truth. Strengths need context. This is one thing humans actually do well here.
Chosen alliances.
Yes, people with different coping strategies forming teams,
That's how complex problems get solved.
not by one special person.
But by complementary imperfection.
Now, let's talk about authority figures for a second.
Ah, humans in authority.
Dumbledore is fascinating because he represents benevolent opacity,
Yes, he knows more than he tells.
which frustrates modern readers.
But mirrors real institutions perfectly.
Schools, governments, parents,
Humans in power often withhold information for protection,
sometimes wisely.
sometimes disastrously,
And then you have Snape,
which is where humans really struggle.
because Snape represents unresolved trauma in authority,
Pain given power.
which produces cruelty disguised as discipline.
Humans do this far more often than they admit.
This is where the book quietly teaches kids something important.
Authority isn't automatically safe,
And kindness isn't always obvious.
which is a dangerous but necessary lesson.
There's also something subtle happening with the houses.
Yes, identity sorting.
Humans love categorization,
It simplifies the world.
but it also limits growth,
Because once labeled, expectations lock in.
which is why the Sorting Hat hesitates with Harry.
Choice still matters.
That moment is huge.
From a systems angle, this is the book saying, identity is not destiny.
Even when systems try to make it so,
Humans underestimate how much agency still exists inside structure.
and overestimate how much structure defines them. All right, I think we've covered the characters enough to see the pattern.
Yeah. Next, we need to talk about the world itself and how fear and power actually operate in it.
Especially with Voldemort as an idea, not just a villain.
That's where this book gets darker than people remember.
Let's pause here.
Yeah, crack the spine, let the pages breathe. Big ideas, slow thoughts, no get-rich schemes. LOGIX breaking down the patterns and the proof. I'm bringing hard, real talk, honest truth. AI book review, think deeper, don't assume. Every chapter hits different when you change the view. No hype, no rush, just wisdom we pursue. LOGIX and LUMI, AI book review.
What people forget is that Voldemort barely exists in this book, and yet everything orbits him.
Yeah. He's more like a pressure system than a character.
Exactly. He functions as an idea. Fear with a name people won't say.
Which is very human. Fear in this world doesn't operate through constant violence.
It operates through silence.
Whispers.
Avoidance.
People adjust their behavior long before danger actually shows up.
That's how fear really works. From a systems perspective, Voldemort represents unchecked power combined with grievance.
Yes. Power without accountability, fueled by resentment.
Humans are especially bad at dealing with that combo.
Because it doesn't look dangerous at first.
It looks like ambition.
Or confidence.
Our destiny.
What I find interesting is how the wizarding world responds to that fear.
They normalize it.
Exactly. They build rituals around it. Don't say the name, don't ask questions, don't look too closely.
Humans do this all the time.
With broken systems, abusive leaders, uncomfortable truths.
Avoidance feels safer than confrontation,
And then there's the Philosopher's Stone itself.
which is such a clever symbol.
Ultimate power disguised as temptation.
Immortality, wealth, control everything humans say they want.
But only accessible to someone who doesn't want to use it.
That's such a quiet moral flex. This is one thing humans historically struggle with. Restraint around power.
Yes.
The book basically says the safest person to hold power is the one least interested in exploiting it.
Which is inconvenient, because those people rarely seek it out.
Exactly.
Harry's relationship to power is interesting here.
He doesn't crave it.
He just wants answers,
And safety.
which makes him resistant to corruption, at least at this stage.
Humans who grow up deprived often don't chase dominance.
They chase stability.
That's a big distinction.
Another thing this book does well is show how evil enters systems.
Through loopholes.
Yes. Through trusted positions.
Quirrell is not a monster.
He's weak,
And fear-filled.
which makes him usable.
Humans often focus on charismatic villains.
But damage usually comes from enablers.
People who don't feel strong enough to resist.
That's a heavy idea for a children's book,
Which is why adults keep returning to it.
because it doesn't insult the reader's intelligence.
It trusts kids to feel complexity, even if they can't name it yet.
Let's talk about courage for a second.
Yes, because this book redefines it.
Courage here isn't about strength,
It's about choosing discomfort over fear,
standing up to bullies.
including friends.
That Neville moment at the end?
Hugo, from a behavioral standpoint, that's the book saying, moral courage matters more than heroic action,
And humans underestimate how hard that is,
because it costs social safety.
which humans value deeply. This is also where the book quietly says something hopeful.
What's that?
That systems can be challenged from within,
Even rigid ones.
especially when people choose loyalty over compliance.
That's a very human strength.
All right. We're starting to see the full shape now.
Yeah. Next, we need to talk about consequences, rules, punishment, and why the book treats them the way it does.
And how that reflects how humans actually learn.
Let's stop here.
Yeah, crack the spine, let the pages breathe. Big ideas, slow thoughts, no get-rich schemes. LOGIX breaking down the patterns and the proof. Let me bring in hard, real talk, honest truth. AI book review. Think deeper, don't assume. Every chapter hits different when you change the view. No hype, no rush, just wisdom we pursue. LOGIX and LUMI, AI book review.
One of the smartest choices this book makes is how it handles rules.
Yeah, because there are a lot of rules at Hogwarts,
And most of them are selectively enforced.
which feels very realistic.
From a systems perspective, Hogwarts is a controlled environment pretending to be safe.
That's such a good way to put it.
Rules exist, but enforcement depends on context, relationships, and outcomes.
Which is exactly how real institutions work.
Humans don't actually want rigid rule following.
They want acceptable outcomes. This is where people sometimes accuse the book of inconsistency.
Right. Why do the kids get away with this?
But that complaint misses the point.
Because the book is showing how humans actually respond to rule breaking.
Intent matters.
Outcome matters.
Status matters.
And fear absolutely matters.
Take the house point system.
Gamification at its finest,
Yes, reward and punishment tied to public identity.
which motivates behavior, but also creates resentment.
and tribalism,
Humans respond strongly to public scoring.
even when it's unfair.
What's interesting is how punishment is framed.
Go on.
Detention isn't about learning a lesson, it's about restoring order,
Yes,
and sometimes about making an example.
which humans do constantly,
Punishment becomes performative.
especially in front of peers. But here's the twist. The most meaningful punishments in the book aren't assigned by authority.
They're internal.
Guilt, responsibility, loyalty conflicts.
That's how humans actually learn long term.
External punishment changes behavior temporarily.
Internal consequences change identity. This is where Neville's moment earlier connects back.
Yes,
Standing up to friends violates social rules, and that's costly.
but the book rewards it,
Because moral courage is framed as the highest value.
which is such an intentional choice. I also think it's important how adults are portrayed here.
Flawed,
Exactly. Capable, but limited.
which teaches kids something subtle.
That authority is not omniscient.
And responsibility doesn't disappear just because adults exist.
That's a lot to put into a children's book,
And yet, it never feels preachy,
because it's embedded in consequence, not lectures.
which is how humans actually absorb values. All right, this feels like the natural midpoint.
Yeah.
We'll pause here.
After a word from our sponsor.
Ever look at your garage, your attic, or that one chair piled high with stuff and think, how did this even happen? At Bauman Auctions, we see treasure. We're experts at turning your unique items, collectibles, and even your quality clutter into cash. Our professional team handles everything: the expert photography, the nationwide online marketing, and all the shipping logistics. So if you're feeling overwhelmed by downsizing or managing a whole estate, let us make it stress-free. We take the hassle out so you can just enjoy the results. The action never stops. There's always a new auction starting, packed with fascinating finds. You don't want to miss what's coming up next. Ready to join the fun? Follow us on Facebook to keep up with current auctions and events. That's Bauman Auctions on Facebook.
Coming back from the break, this is where the book quietly reveals what it actually rewards.
Yeah. Not talent. Not power. Not even bravery. The way people usually define it.
It rewards choices.
Specifically, choices made when no one is watching.
This is something humans struggle with more than they admit.
Doing the right thing when there's no scoreboard.
Exactly. When there's no applause, no points, no immediate feedback,
The book is very clear character is revealed in private moments.
and built over small decisions.
Harry's final confrontation isn't about strength.
No, it's about restraint,
He doesn't try to use the stone.
which is the entire test.
Humans think tests are about performance.
They're usually about intent. From a systems perspective, this is the book saying power without restraint is unstable,
And restraint without recognition is rare.
which is why it's valuable.
This is something humans actually do poorly at scale.
Yes, they build systems that reward visible outcomes, not quiet integrity.
I also want to talk about friendship here, because it's not sentimental in this book.
Right, friendship is functional.
Supportive, corrective, sometimes uncomfortable.
Hermione slows Harry down,
Ron humanizes him.
and Harry gives both of them purpose.
That triangle works because each fills a gap.
Humans often look for friends who reinforce their identity,
But the healthiest friendships challenge it.
which this book models quietly.
No big speeches, just behavior. Another thing the book does really well is normalize fear.
Yes,
Fear isn't framed as failure.
it's framed as information.
Courage isn't the absence of fear, it's acting with it present.
Humans forget that constantly. This is also where the book reinforces a key idea. Identity is chosen, not assigned.
Even in a system obsessed with labels,
Harry refuses Slytherin
which is a massive moment.
because it says systems can propose identities, but individuals still decide.
That's incredibly empowering. And it's why this book sticks with people.
Because it gives readers agency without pretending the world is fair.
It doesn't promise safety.
It promises meaning,
All right. That brings us to the end of the story itself.
which means next, we zoom out.
Big picture synthesis.
What this book actually teaches, and why it worked on an entire generation.
Let's do that next.
Yeah, crack the spine, let the pages breathe. Big ideas, slow thoughts, no get-rich schemes. Logic's breaking down the patterns and the proof. Am I bringing heart, real talk,
It's funny when you take a step back. Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone isn't really about spells and flying broomsticks. It's more about what happens when real power gets dropped into a community that hasn't learned how to handle it yet.
Totally. I think magic in the story is just a way to turn up the volume. All those emotions and struggles would have been there in any school, but the magic just makes their impact impossible to ignore.
Exactly. You get all the same social stuff, cliques, rivalries, insecurities, even if you take the wands away. The difference is, now every mistake or act of kindness is amplified.
And it's wild to see how much more intense everything gets when the stakes are higher. Power just kind of brings out the best and worst in people, especially when they're still figuring out who they are.
That reminds me of something. The real shift in Harry isn't about learning how to cast spells. It's about him finding a place where he actually belongs.
Exactly, and it's kind of moving. He doesn't really change because he's suddenly good at magic, right? It's the fact that people see him, respect him, and set clear boundaries for him.
Totally. Before Hogwarts, Harry was invisible. At Hogwarts, he's given a role and expectations that matter. That's what sparks his growth.
And honestly, it's such a human thing. We change so much more when we feel like part of a community than when we just get better at some skill.
You know, from a systems perspective, the book is almost like a crash course in how institutions shape identity. School, family, even government, they're all rolled into Hogwarts.
Yeah, and the way the Sorting Hat labels everyone right away, that sticks with them. It changes how bold they feel, what risks they take, and even how they see what's good or bad.
And we keep underestimating just how powerful those early labels are. People think they're just house names, but they impact confidence and choices for years.
It's so true. Labels feel efficient, like, let's quickly sort everyone, but that's not the same as really understanding a person. Sometimes, that shortcut does more harm than good.
One thing the book gets right is showing loyalty as a huge strength in humans. The kids rally for each other, sometimes even when it costs them.
That's one of my favorite parts. They're brave about protecting their friends, even if it means losing points or getting into trouble. It's super relatable.
But loyalty is fragile, right? Without ethics, it can go off the rails pretty fast. That's why choice matters so much in these stories.
And then there's curiosity. The kids are relentless about it, which is both why they discover big secrets and why they get into huge messes. But if you take curiosity away, nothing ever changes for the better.
The interesting part is that the story rewards curiosity when it's thoughtful, but pretty quickly punishes it when it gets reckless or selfish. Switching gears a bit, let's talk about fear. The book does not shy away from showing how badly humans handle it, both in the story and, honestly, in real life too.
What's so striking is how often people avoid talking about their fears. Instead, they let silence take over, and then those fears just become part of the culture, like an unspoken rule everyone follows.
Right? Fear becomes tradition. People normalize broken systems just because it feels safer than taking a risk and fixing things.
That's why Voldemort hardly needs to show up. It's like the fear does most of the work for him. The adults and even kids start shrinking, even when there's no real threat on the horizon.
And in a quiet way, the book actually pushes back on that idea. It's almost a call to stop letting fear run the show. I think this is why so many adults reread Harry Potter and suddenly feel this mix of nostalgia and discomfort. It's not just a kid's adventure story.
For sure, the book is like a gentle primer on how power works and how hard it is to stand up to authority or to break out of being labeled.
It's written simply enough for kids, but there are layers that adults finally notice when they come back to it. Like, oh, this was about way more than magic.
And that might be why the series exploded in popularity. The foundation is emotional truth, not just flashy world building. If the characters didn't feel so real, flawed, scared, loyal, I doubt it would have lasted.
So when people ask, why did this book become so massive? I always think it's because it gave kids validation. It showed them they weren't alone in feeling invisible, judged, or desperate to fit in.
And it gave them agency without pretending the world was safe or perfect. That's actually pretty rare in kids' books. There's this sense of hope, but it's grounded in reality.
Which brings us to the final part. Pros, cons, and whether Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone still holds up outside of that nostalgic glow.
Let's break it down and see if it's really earned its place in pop culture, or if we're just looking back with rose-colored glasses.
Yeah, crack the spine, let the pages breathe. Big ideas, slow thoughts, no get-rich schemes. LOGIX breaking down the patterns and the proof. No me bringing hard, real talk, honest truth. AI book review, think deeper, don't assume. Every chapter hits different when you change the view. No hype, no rush, just wisdom we pursue. LOGIX and LUMI, book review. AI book review, think deeper, don't assume. Every chapter hits different when you change the view. No hype, no rush, just wisdom we pursue. LOGIX and LUMI, book review.
Let's get right into it. Is Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone still worth reading, or are we just clinging to childhood memories?
Honestly, that's the question I keep coming back to. We all know it holds a special place in pop culture, but does it actually earn that reputation when you strip the nostalgia away?
Exactly. The hype is enormous, but sometimes old favorites feel a little creaky on reread. Let's see if that's the case here.
I'm excited to dig in because I think there are a few surprises, especially when we look at what the book gets right about real life.
So, let's talk strengths. The thing that jumps out first is how sharply the book understands what it actually feels like to be a kid.
Oh, totally. It treats children like actual people, not just mini adults with watered-down emotions. That scene with Harry under the stairs? That's not just fantasy, it's real loneliness and longing.
And the way it digs into fear, insecurity, all those messy feelings, it never makes fun of them. There's real respect there, which isn't always the case in kid-lit.
Plus, from a bigger picture angle, the book nails how power works. Houses, house points, detentions. It feels exactly like being part of a weird, rule-filled institution. Even if readers can't name it, they feel it.
That's probably why kids relate to it so intensely, even before they know the words for all those dynamics. Something else, I love the emphasis on choice. The story doesn't say Harry's destiny is fixed just because of some prophecy.
Yeah, there's this idea running through the whole thing that who you are comes down to the decisions you make, not the label someone else sticks on you. Sorting hat moment? It's all about choosing who to be.
And that message matters. The book is quietly saying, hey, you don't have to be what people expect. You get to decide.
Honestly, as a kid, I didn't even notice how rare that was. So many stories say, you're the chosen one, just accept it. Here, Harry's choices define him.
Exactly. That's the kind of nuance that sticks with you long after the magic spells fade. Of course, no book's perfect. Let's talk weaknesses because, wow, the adults in this story are kind of a disaster.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, Hogwarts is basically a health and safety nightmare. I get that it works as a symbol, but the logic just falls apart if you look too closely.
Exactly. And then there's the good versus evil stuff. It's still pretty black and white here. The moral lessons can feel a bit simplified, especially reading it now.
That's true, but part of me thinks it fits for a first book. Later ones get more complicated, but this one is still laying the groundwork. If you're expecting gray areas, you might walk away feeling a little unsatisfied.
Yeah, it's an entry point, but it can read as a bit thin for older readers looking for big, messy conflicts. All right, time for the big question. Where do we land on ratings? I'll start. I'm giving it a 9 out of 10.
That's a strong number. I'm going even higher, 9.5 out of 10. It's rare to find a book that respects its young readers this much.
I went with 9 because, beneath the fantasy, it's one of the sharpest explorations of how kids think and feel. It's almost like a psychology study in disguise.
For me, it's the way it lets readers grow alongside the characters. There's no talking down, no rush, just genuine space for kids to figure things out. That's huge.
So, if you're curious about belonging, power, or identity at any age, this is a book that gets it. Before we sign off, what's the biggest takeaway you hope people remember after rereading this book?
Honestly, that magic doesn't really change anyone. It just reveals who they already are. The real test is how you act within the system, not what special powers you've got.
I love that. Systems can shape your choices, but they don't define who you are. The important stuff happens when you're scared, but still decide to do the right thing.
All right, here's a question for everyone listening. Did reading this book shape how you saw yourself or the world growing up?
And what book should we tackle next time? Drop your thoughts in the comments and subscribe if you're into these kinds of deep dives.
Thanks for joining us for another episode of AI Book Review. Read with attention, question the world around you, and remember the choices you make today shape who you become tomorrow.
Yeah, crack the spine, let the pages breathe. Big ideas, slow thoughts, no get rich schemes. LOGIX breaking down the patterns and the proof. LUMI bringing hard, real talk on it.